all about skewed data. So when do we know if data is skewed? Well, data is said to be skewed if there is a main concentration of large values with several other much smaller values, or if there is a large concentration of small values with several other much larger values. So basically, skewed data occurs when the mean and the median are significantly different from each other, because the two measurements will differ based on where all of the data is concentrated. So we say that data is considered to be left skewed or skewed to the left when the data is more spread out to the left and much denser with data on the right side. So here we can see that this is where a lot of our data is concentrated, and our shape is kind of like this. So this end here, we call this the tail, where a lot of the smaller values have fewer frequencies. In this case, our mean is right here. Whoops. Our mean, this is our median, right? Our median is right here, about. And our mean would be something like right here. So when our data is left skewed, this means that our mean is less than our median. Remember, our median tells us where the data is concentrated, and when I have a lot of concentrated data that has higher values, the mean will be smaller than the median. So this is left skewed data. The data is considered right skewed or skewed to the right when the data is more spread out to the right and denser with data on the left side. So we have this shape here. Here, this is our tail end. And here is our median. And our mean would be somewhere over here. So here our mean is greater than our median. So this is what happens when we have right skewed data. A lot of our data is concentrated lower, so our median is affected by that concentration, and our mean is higher. We call our data symmetrically distributed, and this means that a vertical line can be drawn at some point in the histogram such that the shape to the left and the right are mirror images of each other. So if I draw a line there, I can see that the left side and the right side to that line are pretty much the same. So we call this symmetrical distribution. Okay, let's do some math here and determine which of these distributions are left skewed, right skewed, or symmetric. So these are box and plot whiskers. So the dashed line here tells me my my median, and then this tells me where 25% of the data is. This is where 25% of the data is, and then I have 25% over here, 25% over here. That is what the box and plot whiskers mean. So if I were to draw this data, it would look something like this. So we can see here that I have a long tail on the right side. So if I look at my examples up here, if I have a long tail on the right side, this tells me that this is right skewed. And the next one, this is my median. Then I have half of my data there and then a long tail on the left side. So when I have my long tail on the left, that means that I am left skewed. And finally, in this last one, here is our median. And if I were to draw this in like this, I can see that it is symmetric. So again, with these box and whisker plots, this dashed line is the median. 25% of the data, 25% of the data, 25, 25. So that is how we can use these to determine if they are skewed. How does the median compare to the mean if the data is skewed left? So coming back up here, if the data is skewed to the left, that means that I have a lot of values that are smaller, that are larger. Sorry, I keep messing those up. So if I am skewed left, I have a lot of values that are larger. Most of my data is concentrated among larger values. And because most of my data is concentrated among larger values, that will make my median very high. However, if I were to find the mean, I do have values that are much smaller. So our mean would bring, those smaller values would bring the mean down. So here the median is much greater than the mean. Right, so if I have left skewed data, I have a tail to the left, a tail over here to the left. So most of my data is concentrated here. I have a lot of data here, and then a few smaller data here. Those few pieces of smaller data will make my mean smaller. But my median, since I have a lot of larger pieces of data over here, will be concentrated among this. So if I am left skewed, that means that my mean is smaller than the median. All right, I'm told that a dataset has a median of 13 and a mean of 23. Which of the following is a logical conclusion? So let's draw this. I have a median of 13. This is where my data is concentrated. So I have a median of 13 and a mean of 23. So I'm concentrated at 13, and then I have a mean somewhere over here at 23. Well, here, if we look at this shape, I have a tail to the right, and I can see that my mean is much greater than my median, which tells me I have several really small data points over here and a lot of large data points over here. So this tells me that since my tail is to the right, my data is skewed to the right. Finally, we have a frequency table here. Which of the following tables shows skewed data and which shows symmetric? Well, I need to look at where the bulk of my data is, right? Here I have 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way through 20. So these values are evenly spaced, and these values are evenly spaced as well. So let's see, without trying to plot these, where the bulk of my data is. Well, I see here in this first one that the bulk of my data is here. And then I have a few really small values here. So if I were to plot this now, the bulk of my data is around 17 and 18. And then I have a few really small values here. So because the bulk of the data is at one side of the data set, this means that it is skewed. And in this case, it is skewed left, since I have a left tail. Here in the other one, where is the bulk of my data? I see that the bulk is here, right? In this case, the bulk of my data is right smack dab in the middle. And then I have a few values here at this end and a few values here on this end. So because the bulk of my data is in the middle and I have a small number of values at the left and to the right, this means that it is symmetric. Because the bulk of the data is in the center. So this is all about skewed data. Let me know if you have any questions about this during our Zoom meeting. I would love to answer. We have one more lesson, so pop on over to lesson 57.